180 million product pages with like buttons. So that's many, many websites. That's pretty much like most of the important websites, if you will. And out of that, 6.2 million products have at least one like, so this represents the best of the best in some sense, right? I mean, somebody somewhere on the web has expressed like for these products. He must have spent some time browsing the site. He must have looked at the 20 Nordstrom sweaters, and he must have liked one and clicked on it. Right? And on the other side, brands and stores. These are Facebook pages. I mean, the Facebook pages for the brands and stores. So there are hundreds of millions of likes on those, and I think we all know it. I mean, so people are liking those. And while you can say that like for Amazon, eBay, and Walmart might not carry much information, while that is true because everybody likes Amazon, Walmart. But there are many small stores where they have 100,000 likes, 200,000 likes. And if you like a boutique store, I mean, you like it for some reason. I mean, it wasn't because you probably shop there, right? So they do have a lot of things. Just some graphs. Look at the top one. You will see that obviously apparel has a lot of likes, right? You see food and wine has a lot of likes, right? The second one. Then here movies and music. As you can imagine, I mean, a lot of likes are in more softer kind of categories, if you will, right? Not in computers, not in garden, not in office supplies and things like that. So that's expected. In hard categories, you mostly look at reviews, and in soft categories, which is fashion and home, you look at likes most. And likes are like reviews, roughly speaking. So this is an example of a nice shoe from Nordstrom. It has 130 reviews and 970 likes. Very positively correlated. We find that all the time. And so basically, I mean, if you can get these 970 users have liked this shoe, right? So if you can get for every user, if you can get all the products that he has liked on different websites, then you can potentially get much more data about this user and his shopping profile and his taste, because you might shop for apparel on one website, maybe electronics on the other, maybe home on the third, who knows, right? And so you will get much more kind of, in some sense, aggregated data about the user than probably any one site could.
Question. Good question. So on your previous slide, you have a statement that says likes are more trustworthy. It's a better indicator of best products.
Yes.
So reviews typically come from people who have physically owned the product versus like may not be so. By just looking at an image, I can say I like it.
Correct. That is correct.
So is that a true statement by simply saying?
So the thing is, if you look at digital camera, right? Clearly, you would trust reviews more than like. So I think that is a no-brainer. If you look at women's sandals, right? So I think that's the difference. So in hard categories, you would probably go for reviews, and you also do not see as many likes as you would imagine when men are shopping for digital cameras. So it's women who are actually shopping for fashion and home, and they are doing likes.
So in real world, I wouldn't go to shopping alone. I would like my friends to come to me.
Yes.
Do you have a vision of making that online? As in, for example, given a website, instead of me going alone and looking at the articles or the various dresses or something, they have an account, and then my friend comes with me to shop, and then he suggests me something.
Right.
Do you have a vision like that?
No, that's a very good idea, and that's the reason why Nilika Dot Manager is here, and you should talk to her.
Collaborative shopping.
Collaborative shopping. So we are technical people, so we do collaborative film. She can do collaborative shop. So, likes add to Facebook's open graph, right? So here's an interesting thing. Obviously Facebook has the like data, right? I mean, obviously Facebook has the user, they have the like data. So when somebody likes that shoe, Facebook knows that this person called Joy Park liked this URL. Open graph URL. It's an open graph object. It has URL, title, and store name, I guess, and maybe description. I'm not sure. So that's what they know, right? But we get that like. So because Joy Park comes and Facebook connects with her, or a friend comes and Facebook connects, we get that like. We know the product. We are able to match to the index. And what we know is that Joy Park likes, she likes women's sandals from brand Michael Kors, right? And they are like strappy or ankle strap or something like that, leather or whatever. They are roughly this price, which means it's like medium price or costly sandals or cheap sandals, something like that, at Nordstrom. Right? So once you get this data for a user, so this is the granularity at which you can actually extrapolate the data tomorrow, right? So for example, in this example, right? Let me directly jump here, right? So in this example, you have three people, right? Ray, Rob, and Don, and they want to shop for the same query dress shirt. They have the same query dress shirt. Right? but really liked a URL on Amazon, which was this. It was an Izod dress shirt, size medium, $28, liquor clean, stain resistant kind of thing. And we were able to figure that out. Facebook was not. We were able to figure that out. And we know, right? I'm going to go one slide back. My favorite, matrix in the middle, right? So we know from the index, because we have mined the index, we know what is similar to what. So we know that Izod is similar to these brands. I mean, we might not be able to define Izod as a sporty brand, like we might not be able to tag it as sporty, right? Because that needs manual intervention, I guess. But we know that Izod is similar to Polo, Lacoste, Arrow, Dockers, Nike, Dickies, Volcom. And we know that through a lot of index mining. Right? Because people who sell this also sell, people who click on this also click on, all of these products are similar, we can cluster them, this, that, and the other. So using that, we can expand the profile of the users. That is what is important here, because you got one data point, right, which was a URL and a like. You expanded it to attributes, let's call them attributes, for simplicity, attributes. And then you expand it from attributes to similar attributes. Now you have a rich user profile with one data point. And now you get 20 data points. So now you expand it to 100 data points. So now you have a user profile which is actually at a fine enough level of granularity that you can use it for the next, year, whatever, you can use it you can use it for, personalization in search relevance. You can use it for ad targeting, which is essentially the same problem, basically, because you have a query and a user and you're, surfacing results, right? And so that is kind of the effect that user profile mining from the web can have. And we are trying to achieve that, and this is not all done yet, by the way. We are working on it actively. Some of it is done, some of it is not done, so it's work in progress. But basically marrying kind of social graph data with the taxonomy data, shopping data that we have, we can achieve this, right? And yeah, I think that, so somebody.
I had a question for that.
Yes.
Can you go back to the slide? So the guy Ray Barron,
Yeah.
if I pronounced it correctly. So he clicked the like on a URL on amazon.com which reflected a sporty shirt. Or maybe at that time he was shopping for a party or something, but later he may search for, let's say, for an interview.
Yeah, correct.
So in that case, how do you distinguish?
How do you distinguish, right? So basically the question that gentleman is raising is about over-personalization. And this is always a problem in personalization, right? You remember one thing and for the next 10 years, right? So you don't want to do that, right? So basically, so this is something which you want to handle in ranking. As an example, handle ranking. So there are 2 or 3 concepts there. One is that you want to decay, that is one concept, right? Decay the information. The second concept is that you want to be able to contextually understand the query. As an even more prominent example of that, if you figure out I'm a woman, and if I search for jeans, you won't show me women's jeans, personalization. But if I search for men's jeans, or if I search for some brand of jeans like Wrangler, assume there's a brand of jeans which is selling only men's jeans, assume, right? Or maybe Carter's jeans, right? Carter sells kids jeans, I don't know. So Carter's jeans. Then you should be able to figure out from the query and from the results that there is gender implicit in the query or explicit in the query, either of that, and not do personalization based on gender. So how do you do that? So I think this is a part of, you have information, you have to use it intelligently in your ranking algorithm. You cannot just use it blindly and over-personalize.
So, question on the example you gave when you called out sporty, and you said, well, you might not be able to know what sporty is, but you might be able to identify groups of things that are sort of fit that definition. So to me, that sounds kind of like almost a market segmentation. What I'm wondering is, can you do that across diverse categories and products, or do you kind of get that, like you can figure out that lines of clothing all kind of match, but that maybe watches or cameras a little bit different? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I agree, that makes sense, and that is probably a difficult problem. And I don't know, so typically you would actually wait for user data and user purchase data to actually try to figure that out, right? Typically, because imputing similarities of brands and all of that across categories by yourself from the index is probably, there are some ideas that I have, but
another way to look at it would be, let's say, if a person who shops at Nordstrom's might not make as many purchases at Walmart.
Yeah.
Right. So you could make that kind of. So if you could make that kind of inference.
Yeah.
Right.
So here's one intuition, for example. You look at a lot of, forget about Nordstrom, Walmart. Now you look at a lot of mid-level stores. So it is their job that they actually, they are in some niche categories. That's what they do, right? So you can actually do a lot of cross-correlation across 50,000 stores, all of which are niche, and figure out people who sell this also sell. Because that guy must have spent a lot of money and time in trying to figure out what goes with what. and then maybe infer from there. So that's an intuition. We haven't done it, but
Market has.
so yeah, I think thank you very much for listening, and this is a summary of the talk, and we can take more questions. Before I take more questions, there's new product that we're going to launch. I think last time Greg was here, Greg, right, from Blacko, if I'm not wrong, and he was talking about the tablet app.
Mm-hmm.
And we are actually also working on a search tablet app. And interestingly, there is no good shopping tablet app which can be the one-stop shop for shopping for you right now. And something we're going to launch, and that kind of includes all our technologies, which is search, browse, and personalization. And the tablet app probably now in 2 months or something, and it will do both, search and browse, and it will be the one place to manage all your shopping history. Which is interestingly one thing. I mean, even a simple thing like I find it amazing that even we haven't done it. I find it that amazing, and other people have not done that, which is a cross-store shopping list. I mean, if shopping is not a one session process. Shopping is like sometimes goes on for days or something like that, right? And so you remember, 7 days back, what did I see? That shoe or that dress or that suit or whatever that was. I mean, so we'll do all of that. So yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Daily shopping volume, the traffic outside.
We get roughly 20 plus million users a month, and yes.
Can they actually buy through your site, or they?
We are a search engine, so people go to the merchant site. So we are like Google search engine.
Okay, you track.
We're just in the vertical of shopping.
Well, could you describe the manage your shopping history in one place? Is that the shopping history, the looking, or the actual purchase?
No, two different things. One is the looking, right? So that you can track by browsing, as you can understand. The second is the purchase. I did not talk about the purchase in detail, but we are actually working on an idea where, where does your purchase history actually go? It actually goes in the email.
There's quite a few companies doing that now. You guys are going to do it too?
No. So we're going to partner with some of the companies, and I know eBay partners with some of them. So basically, what a number of these companies are doing is that they are trying to parse your email and find out what you bought from where, when.
Mm-hmm.
Additionally, on top of that, what we can do is we can understand what you bought, what and when, and then convert that to the attributes that I was talking about and build a profile. So and of course you can also manage it in one place, and that's all my idea you have this.
Thank you.
This is kind of a similar question. So you guys, know what your click-through is to like a Nordstrom product or whatever, and is that what you guys monetize? Is that what the merchants that pay for, or do you get paid if they buy the thing there?
Both.
Both. And do you get a record, so you can record the difference of signal between just a click and a purchase?
Yes. So CPC, CPA, all of that.
One question on your social signals. Sorry. Are all likes equal?
Are all likes equal means what is the mean?
Me liking a shoe the same as Brad Pitt liking a shoe. You guys have.
Yeah. So there,
influence as a factor.
2 or 3 comments on that. One is no, we don't have influence as common factor. Number 1. Number 2 is that when we look at wisdom of the masses, we look at aggregate data in some sense. So it's not that much spam. So it's like how many people like the shoe is more important. And then separately, when we look at a user, then whether you like the shoe, it's only used for you, so it doesn't really matter. Like Brad Pitt data is Brad Pitt.
So for example, you liking a shoe is important to your friends than Brad Pitt liking a shoe, because you might influence your friends more. So our product, which is Glimpse, which actually shows you the likes that your friends have done.
He's just saying he's got fewer friends. So.
You wanted to ask?
I have one question. How do you get likes, actually? How do you get
Using Facebook APIs.
do you buy them to improve ad targeting, or do you improve my relevance, for example?
We actually use for both. So there are 2 different things, right? One is that you want to find likes for products. So you can use that in Facebook API. We actually use it for search relevance. And again, this is work, half is done, half is not done, but we use it for search relevance, and we use it for this discovery product that I talked about, Glimpse. www.glimpse.com. You can go there and you can see what that shows. And actually very specifically for all the people who are married, you should go there, check it out, and ask your wife or husband to check it out and see the difference, how the pages are different based on your different user IDs. And then when people Facebook Connect, we get their data again using the different Facebook APIs, and we use it for you.
Do you have my personal information in this case, or you have aggregated data? For example, if I wouldn't like to share my likes with some merchant, is it these events?
We have your personal information only when you Facebook Connect with us.
Right.
Otherwise, it is not. It's anonymized data.
That's like.
So in this case, I have to connect with
www.glimpse.com or thefind.com. You go and Facebook Connect.
I see.
Do you use some open source framework like a Lucene to build index for deep processing, or you build your own from scratch?
We have our indexing. So I guess let me answer the question a different way. Do you think Google uses open source framework like Lucene to build index or run search engine? So no, that's because they are too big for that scale. So same is the case with us. So we are obviously not as big as Google, but we are still too big for Lucene. So we do it ourselves. Yes.
Just could you repeat the daily traffic? I didn't get the part.
We get roughly 20 billion plus users a month, so roughly slightly less than 1 million a day.
In addition to that question, do you have any statistics comparing the number of active users on your site compared to other shopping websites, and how many of these users complete the shopping site?
Other shopping sites like what? Like which one? Give me an example. Let's say eBay. Well, I don't have, but so no, I do not have a lot of that data also on top of my head. Maybe I have it in some file somewhere. But here's some random piece of data which I remember in response to your question, which is that we do know from Comscore statistics that the time spent on our site and the average number of page views per session on our site is roughly double that of other shopping search engines. So this we can, it's probably Comscore data.
I don't know, I was late, so maybe I missed something, maybe you already mentioned that. But do you have open APIs for, for other sites to go through your Google search?
We do have an API. It is not a public API, and we are not in the API business because we are startups, so we have too many other things going on in life. But we do share API with some special people like Red Laser, for example.
So, it has to be fed kind of partnership?
Yes, it's correct. That's right. Yeah. Because we have servers and we have their this.
Can the merchants find out the keywords volume so they can tune their products?
Yes, we do have a merchant center, merchant.thefind.com. Merchants can log in and you can check it out and you will see some reports back.
The keyword, do you tell them like a Google keyword pool? How many the most searched?
Yeah, but we don't have text ads, right? So what will the merchant do by looking at keywords? We can give the information for fun, but there's nothing.
Well, it's very valuable because they know first how to describe the product. Second, can they introduce new products? So
Okay, sure.
It's a very valuable.
That's a good idea. So maybe we'll add that to the merchant center. That's just being nice to merchants so they can optimize it. Sure. Yes.
Do you have like a guidelines page? So like if a store wants to make it easier for you to extract the information from your store, do you have guidelines?
Guidelines.
Yeah.
No, we do not have guidelines, and no. He's talking about extraction. So no, we do not have guidelines, and the thing is, even big stores. People have, by the way, done effort on this. So this is people have tried to make RDF schemas and all of that for all of this, and unfortunately they have not been very successful. And I think that the reason why they have not been successful is because all these merchants, they are not technical people, and the more you go towards fashion and home, the less technical it gets, and they treat this as an IT problem, and there is just no way they for them any change to the website is like a 6-month project, so it just doesn't happen. So it's very difficult to get it accepted.
I was thinking of smaller, like medium-sized companies that want to improve their ranking. So if they have a guidelines page, they know like, oh, maybe you're not picking up this information about our store. We need to change how we. But like the big stores aren't going to listen to you, probably, right? Like,
Small ones are probably even less technical. They can probably barely keep their site up.
Yeah. One of the learnings you get, you'll be surprised how, actually, probably eBay people will not be surprised, but other people will be surprised how, kind of low level of technology all these merchants have.
How do you decide relevance? So how do you decide which merchant, if I'm looking for a Nikon camera, say DSL 400 or something like that,
how do you decide which merchant shows up at the top and which one? Because I looked at your thing and you actually have them listed out in the form of the way Pinterest shows the pictures. So do you keep rotating them, or do you?
Yeah, you're talking about TheFind.com search result page, right?
Yes.
Yes. So there are a number of factors which we use. I'll just discuss one of them. So basically, the kind of philosophy that we take towards relevance is that users want to do a query, and then that query has a number of results. So Nikon digital camera is an example of a query, or chandeliers or something like that is an example of a query. And that query will have maybe either if it's long tail, maybe 20, 30, 40 results, or maybe 5,000. That's the most common is a few thousand results, mid-level query. And you want to figure out the equivalent items, and then you want to re-rank the equivalent items to find out which is the best one. So kind of that is the approach that we call two-phase ranking, right? First, like search and find candidates, and then after that, organize them. And so that's kind of what we do, and we use a number of factors. The usual, how good did the query match? Were you able to understand the query and match it with attributes? What is the geography? Can you do some local store thing? What is cheap? What is not cheap? Likes, I talked about likes. We're working on reviews and ratings, those kind of things. Yes.
Do you use any natural language search? Maybe a woman goes in and says New Year's Eve party, and then it might bring up different options.
Yes. So that is a very difficult search problem, like Christmas gift, New Year's Eve party, that kind of thing. Very difficult problem. So fortunately, and we haven't solved this problem technically, by the way. So fortunately, the way it ends up working on the site is that because we have so many results and because we have such a big index, it shows up enough number of good results. Because remember, we can brag all we want about 500 million products. User does not have the time to go through more than 300 results. So that's the fact of the matter. So fortunately, it works out. But yes, one should work on solving the problem better. All right.
A question about clustering. Based on the real query, do you merge existing clusters or regroup existing clusters to improve relevance, or the clusters became solid?
So the way the system is structured, we do have issues where duplicate clusters get generated. So there is a process which kind of merges those clusters. But once they get pushed to index, then essentially it's just one cluster. So whatever the query comes in, it matches a bunch of clusters, or it might match only one cluster.
I looked at search results about some specific item, and the similar items were shown with quite a big variation in the model name and so on. And to me, these are quite different products, but they have several common words, and this was the reason why they were clustered. And the relevance is not very good because some results I'm interested in are probably 20s, 30s, and so on. And my query had something more specific. I expect what you shown was a part of one cluster you generate. And my query could make this cluster more precise, and you can extract only the data I'm interested in, and rewrite it.
So I don't know, because when you search, you get a bunch of results, and then on each result there is a compare button which actually shows the products.
Right. Yes, and I press compare.
Compare button.
And I see a lot of variation there.
Okay.
So we just found a bug, and we'll talk to you and fix the
Yeah.
bug.
We'll be happy to look at the actual example.
I'll show you the query.
Sure, I'll be happy to.
As a human being, how did you differentiate?
So talking about taking feedback from the user, right? Like feedback.
Do you have any interesting shopping patterns to share?
Patterns?
For example, a few weeks back there was a talk where the talk shared that a person going into a store buying a beer also might like this. Any shopping pattern?
Yeah, the beer diaper example is from 1982 from Rakesh Agarwal's paper, I think.
Yeah.
So.
Can you start a new one?
Yeah, I think we'll come up with something. So no, on top of my head, no. But, yeah. All right, so thank you.
Thank you very much.